Her plan is called the Real Corporate Profits Tax, and it focuses on raising the tax rate for companies that make over $100 million. Warren estimates it would affect about 1,200 companies. It would raise an additional $1 trillion over 10 years. Now, her plan would add a 7% marginal tax rate on reported profits above $100 million to the taxes that a corporation already pays. And it targets the worldwide profits of American corporations, not just what they make in the United States. Take Amazon, for example. Warren estimates that Amazon would pay $698 million in taxes under her system in 2008, but under current laws, Amazon paid no federal taxes on $11.2 billion worth of profits. Warren's plan is just the latest in a series of policy proposals that she releases as she makes her pitch to voters to get them excited for her 2020 bid. Let me bring in John Harwood now. He's editor-at-large at CNBC to have a conversation about this. John, this is the puzzlement of our time, right? You and I, business reporters, pro-capitalism. We like business. We think it gives people jobs and it contributes to growth. This is the puzzlement of our time. Why have we not been able to effectively tax corporations in a way that some of the most profitable companies on the face of the earth do not pay tax?
Well, those profitable companies have very good lawyers, and they have very good lobbyists, and they have ways of using loopholes and deductions and items in the tax code to reduce their liability. What's fascinating about what Warren is doing is she's trying to get around that. She's applying this tax not to income or net profits reported to the IRS, but rather the ones that are reported to shareholders. And there's a big difference between the two. When you report profits to the IRS, you want them to be as small as possible. When you report profits to shareholders, you want them to be as large as possible, because that drives your stock price, and it also affects the compensation for executives. So she's trying to perform a little jujitsu and leverage those public statements and say, well, if you don't pay taxes over here, you're going to pay it over here. And this 7%, of course, would be layered on top of that corporate tax system. And we saw a new report out today saying that I think 50 or 60 members of the Fortune 500 companies paid zero tax in 2018. She's trying to get around that.
Let me just bring in, we were just listening to Kamala Harris talking at a house in Iowa. She just mentioned corporate taxes. I just wanted you and I to listen to what she said, and then we can talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you support an increase in taxes on the wealthiest Americans and corporations?
Yes, I do.
How?
Well, we can talk about the various plans, but there is no question that, one, the way that this administration has approached the issue has been backward and has denied the fact that there are a majority of working middle-class Americans in this country who are suffering, who are unable to get through the month, and that the tax policies coming out of this administration are not helping them in any way.
John, when you and I spoke daily with Stephanie about the tax plan, the president's tax plan, it was kind of strange because they would always say America had the highest corporate tax rate in the world, but we would know that because of these lawyers and lobbyists, a lot of companies just didn't pay that. So, in fact, what was called the effective tax rate was a lot lower. And everybody would come on the show day after day, Republican members of Congress and senators, and say, no, but we're going to close those loopholes and lower the tax rate so that more people will pay a lower tax rate. Sounded fair. Didn't happen. All we did was lower the headline rate, and now companies pay yet less as a percentage. Why is this? Is Elizabeth Warren's proposal practical for solving this problem?
Well, I think it's practical for getting around the problem, and I don't think $100 billion a year over 10 years or $1 trillion in total would make up for all of the lost revenue from that 2017 tax code, which, as you correctly point out, they took the path of least resistance. Lowering the rates is the easy part. Everybody wants their rates lowered. Taking away the loopholes and deductions is the hard part, and they didn't do that. They didn't pay for the tax bill. We're going to see various approaches toward compensating for that. Kamala Harris has already called for repealing those 2017 tax cuts. Warren has a wealth tax. She's got this real corporate tax. She's got changes in the estate tax, $4 trillion in all of tax increases that she's proposed. Other candidates are going to propose some of this, some other things as well. AOC's talked about much higher marginal rate on the highest incomes. Yesterday, I talked to Mayor Pete Buttigieg for a speakeasy interview that's coming out tomorrow. He said all of that should be considered considered, as well as a financial transactions tax. So there are going to be a lot of ways people try to make up the revenue the government needs. And remember, it's not just to close the current deficit, or it's not just to provide new services, infrastructure, education. It's also to pay for the looming costs of all those retirees who are going on Medicare and Social Security.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.